Heartwarming story of a grandmother. My daughter-in-law revealed a life-changing, unexpected move. Clara Miller's heart raced as she looked around her modest living room, where half-torn photographs and wrinkled cushion covers spoke of a life steeped in love and memories. Collinsville held her stories, tales of laughter, children's footsteps, and a husband whose absence rang like an echo in the silence. At 68, she had become the glue of her family, beaming with pride at what they had built together. But as the sun dipped behind the horizon, a new shadow loomed. Sarah, her daughter-in-law, had lost her job, and now she was moving in with her and her 2 grandchildren. Clara's chest tightened at the thought of rearranging her world again. The small home brimming with precious memories suddenly felt like a pressure cooker. The aroma of her beloved lavender candles, which once offered comfort, now seemed like a bittersweet reminder of the calm before the storm. Clara remembered her late husband, Harold, always asserting, "True strength shines in tough times." But how could she feel strong when independence slipped through her fingers like sand? As Sarah settled in, Clara's heart ached. The walls of her serenity were now crowded with the noise of tiny feet and the bewildered gasps of a single mom trying to make things work. "Can we talk about the budget?" Sarah suggested one evening, hope and uncertainty dancing in her emerald eyes. Clara's mouth turned dry. Yet, she nodded, knowing they needed to cling to some semblance of normalcy. They put together spreadsheets, and Sarah's enthusiasm flickered like a candle trying to survive a strong breeze. Clara felt herself growing resentful. Money, discussions about bills, and familial expectations loomed like dark clouds. Before the storm could fully settle, a local community gathering became the light in her dreary days. As Clara sat among the familiar faces, sharing stories of struggle on a chilly Collinsville night, hope warmed her heart. Mothers talked of losing jobs, fathers of workplace tensions, everyone trying to catch their breath. The camaraderie and resilience poured out of the room, igniting something inside her. It was a reminder that they were not alone. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But then disaster struck. Clara got a call saying she'd lost her job at the library. Her heart sank, her identity splintered. The library wasn't just a paycheck, it was where she'd woven her life into the community fabric. At home, anxiety lay like a heavy blanket. It wasn't just about money now, it felt like her entire world was shifting beneath her feet. Tense conversations with Sarah erupted into misunderstandings. Clara's heart ached with frustration. She felt her world tightening even more. Then came the turning point. Sarah, determined, unveiled a surprise. With breathless enthusiasm, she had been working secretly on a community grant. That night, Clara sat wide-eyed as Sarah spoke, each word lifting her spirits like a warm hug. This earnest act of love pierced through Clara's anxiety, illuminating her fears about independence. Amid rising tensions, a heartwarming bond was simmering, ready to blossom. Clara stood at a crossroads, gripping the weight of tradition against emerging new beginnings. In those moments, Clara was forced to confront who truly held strength in their family. Would she let go, or would pride keep her shackled? The air thickened with uncertainty, leaving Clara wrestling with profound questions about family, love, and change. What would she choose? Clara woke to the sound of laughter echoing through the hallways and the smell of scrambled eggs wafting from the kitchen. She took a moment to let the warmth of those sounds settle in her heart. They were new, bright notes in a tune she thought she'd forgotten. Sarah had awakened earlier, eager to make breakfast for the children, an attempt to bring some stability back into their frayed lives. Clara felt a small smile creep onto her face, a fragile thing in the shadow of her worries. "Good morning, Clara," Sarah called cheerfully, trying to coax her out of the bedroom. "I made extra, come join us." Clara hesitated. Part of her wanted to stay cocooned in her blankets, reminiscing about the quiet morning spent reading or tending to her garden. But as her heart wrestled with the weight of concern for Sarah, and the children's playful giggles floated into the room, she slipped out of bed. The kitchen was a whirlwind of activity. Little Jessie, with her sticky hands, was attempting to stack a pile of pancakes that looked more like a wobbling tower than a breakfast feast. Tommy was giggling as he joined in, tossing a piece of bacon into the air, hoping to catch it in his mouth. Clara chuckled despite herself, seeing the joy on their faces. "See? We're all getting a fresh start," Sarah smiled, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. But the shadows of their financial struggles loomed, heavy yet unspoken. Clara felt an explosion of emotions stirring within her: pride for her grandchildren, concern for Sarah, and a dull fear of the unknown. As breakfast finished, Clara helped clean up the kitchen, the familiar rhythm offering her a sliver of solace amidst chaos. She could sense Sarah's anticipation growing, her fingers tapping nervously against the counter. "Clara, can we talk?" Sarah's voice trembled, her emerald eyes searching Clara's. They settled back at the dining table, dishes pushed aside to make room for their words. "I submitted that grant application," Sarah began. "But there's more. There's a local market looking for vendor spots. It could bring in some income." The hope hung thick in the air, a lush garden blooming amidst arid soil. But Clara frowned, her skepticism creeping back. "We don't have the funds for supplies. What if it doesn't work out?" "I know, but, Clara, we can do this together. I can handle most of it. I just need your help with baking recipes." Sarah's enthusiasm surged, edging Clara closer to belief. The thought of cooperating ignited a flicker of excitement in Clara. Could she really step into this new role? As they made plans, discussions filled with laughter and promise, Clara felt the walls around her heart begin to peel back. They sketched ideas on paper, dreams unfurling between them like petals in the spring. Yet, deep down, Clara was still navigating the churning waters of her own fears. Had she truly found something new, or was this merely a distraction? Later that afternoon, Sarah gathered the children, leading them outside to enjoy the last rays of sun. Clara, feeling the quiet whisper of the evening air, found herself alone for a moment. She sat in her favorite chair on the porch, the creaky wood familiar beneath her. The memories of her husband filled the space. He had always believed in chances, in taking leaps even when they were daunting. Just as resistance began to fade, Clara sensed a flutter of uncertainty, a gnawing instinct that she was standing on the precipice. What if she failed them? What if their collective hope crumbled beneath the weight of reality? Clara breathed in deeply, confronting the choice that unfurled before her. Would she walk this path together, or protect her heart from potential hurt? As the sun dipped below the horizon, cloaking the world in shades of twilight, Clara knew she could no longer ignore the call for connection and reconciliation. Where would this journey lead them all? In the shadows of the approaching night, she felt the weight of change questions echoing in her mind. Could Clara let go of her old fears to embrace this uncharted future? Clara stared out into the fading light, each moment heavy with the ghosts of her past. The laughter of the children outside had faded, but the thrill of possibility lingered in the air. She felt an urge to scream, to release all the pent-up fears that clawed at her. Instead, she remained quiet, her heart pounding in her chest like a drum urging her to leap. The following mornings turned into a beautiful chaos. Sarah had taken charge, her vibrant spirit pushing them all forward. Clara found herself swept into the tidal wave of preparations for the market. The kitchen buzzed with a new energy, flour dusted the countertops and the sounds of whisks beating egg whites filled the air. Memories of her own baking adventures came rushing back. She could hear her husband's laughter mingling with her own. Days turned into a routine of mixing and measuring. Clara's hesitations began to melt away as she elbowed deep in dough, but a part of her still held back. She taught Sarah the old family recipes, each one a tiny thread connecting them to their ancestors, a history laden with love and tenacity. "Just like this, Grandma." Tommy cheered, his apron slightly askew as he gravitated towards a mound of cookie dough. Clara couldn't help but chuckle. His enthusiasm was infectious, a balm to her hesitant heart, yet as excitement swirled, so did doubt. Clara couldn't shake the feeling that this venture might not work. What if they didn't sell anything? What if the market turned out to be another crushing disappointment? The thought chilled her, but at the same time, something marvelous unfolded between her and Sarah. They were no longer just mother and daughter-in-law, they were partners, sharing dreams, laughter, and fears. Finally, the day of the market arrived. Clara stood in front of the table they'd set up, a charming display of pastries garnished with icing sugar that twinkled in the morning sun. She felt nerves skittering through her, but when she looked at Sarah, she saw the same mix of hope and trepidation reflected back. The market was busy, good-weathered people wandering from stall to stall, children running amok with cotton candy tongues. Clara found herself lost in the sights and sounds, her zest for life returning as she engaged with customers, giving them samples with a smile. "Delicious!" exclaimed one woman, eyes brightening as she sampled a lemon tart. "You must tell me your secret." Clara beamed. "It's all about using love in your baking." The words felt powerful as they rolled off her tongue. Love, yes, that was the secret ingredient she'd been missing in her own life's recipe. Sarah's face lit up with each sale, the fruits of their labor materializing before them. Clara's heart swelled as she saw the joy in her daughter-in-law's eyes, a mirror to her own reclaiming of happiness. Then, amidst a jovial crowd, a familiar figure emerged. Clara's breath caught in her throat when she spotted her old friend, Margaret, weaving through the throng. A wave of nostalgia washed over her. They hadn't spoken in ages, their lives drifting apart like leaves carried away by the wind. "Clara!" Margaret's voice rang out, bringing tensions to a head. As Margaret approached, Clara felt a surge of fear coupled with a glimmer of hope. Would their friendship survive the test of time? What would they say when they met again? Clara hesitated, caught between the comfort of her past and the bright new future unfurling in front of her. In that moment of uncertainty, she realized she had to face more than just selling pastries. She had to confront the ghosts of her past and choose how to hold on to the present. Would her leap into this new chapter mean embracing the old as well? What awaited her beyond this moment? Clara's heart raced as she watched Margaret approach, each step releasing a floodgate of memories. Those carefree afternoons spent at the park, sharing laughter and tears over their trials and triumphs, echoed in her mind. As Margaret drew closer, her eyes sparkled with recognition, a warmth that instantly eased Clara's tension. "Clara!" Margaret breathed, her voice vibrant against the backdrop of the bustling market. "I can't believe it's you. It's been so long." The embrace was natural, as if no time had passed at all. Clara felt the familiar comfort, the sisterhood of shared experiences. "It really has," she replied, stepping back to look into Margaret's face, searching for the years they had lost. "You look great." "Thanks." "Life has been busy, of course," Margaret said, glancing around at the market stalls. "And I see you've got quite the setup here." Clara felt her cheeks flush with pride. "It's a new venture baking with Sarah. We're just getting started." Margaret's expression softened. "I always knew you had it in you. Your pastries were a community treasure back in the day." That simple acknowledgement struck a chord in Clara. It was what she had longed to hear, a little spark of validation that ignited her hope anew. "Oh, you still remember that?" "Of course. Who could forget your lemon meringue?" Margaret chuckled, but then a thoughtful look crossed her face. "You know, I was just reflecting on how often we let life take us away from what we love. I've missed you." A wave of emotion surged through Clara. She hadn't realized just how isolated she had become. It was more than just time apart. It was the silence, the shadows left unturned, and the ghosts that loomed large. "Life can change so fast," Clara admitted, her voice wavering. "I lost my way for a while. But I'm trying to reclaim it now." Margaret nodded, her eyes shining. "We all lose our way at times, Clara. But that's the beauty of life, isn't it? The chance to find our way back. To reconnect." Clara caught a glimpse of Sarah out of the corner of her eye, her daughter-in-law busy wrapping pastries for an eager customer. A sense of pride rolled through her. The market wasn't just about selling baked goods, it was about stitching together the torn pieces of her life as well. "Why don't you join us?" Clara blurted out impulsively. "We could use a helping hand. I'd love to catch up, really talk." Margaret's smile widened. "I'd love that. I actually had a few ideas of my own for the market. Maybe we could collaborate." A thrill of excitement surged through Clara. The notion of collaboration felt like a door opening, inviting her into a world filled with fresh possibilities both in business and in friendship. As they stood together, discussing the potential of merging their baking styles, Clara's heart fluttered with newfound hope. It felt as if the universe was whispering that she wasn't just reclaiming her past, she was paving the way for a vibrant, fulfilling future. But just as Clara was about to suggest their first brainstorm session, a loud commotion erupted nearby. A young boy, eyes wide with distressed energy, had spilled an entire tray of freshly made cupcakes, the colorful icing splattering like confetti across the concrete. Clara's heart sank, and instinctively, she moved toward the chaos. "Let me help," she shouted over the uproar of gasps and giggles that followed. Margaret kept pace at her side. "Looks like you have an event to manage, my friend." With a chuckle, Clara turned to face the tableau of cake and commotion in front of her. Would this mishap bring more togetherness or chaos? She was eager to find out, but equally aware that days like this could also be the breaking point for some. As she knelt to assess the mess, a sudden thought struck Clara, a question not solely about the cupcakes, but about the community, her life, and where she fit in. How could she bring sweetness back into the lives of others when her own felt so uncertain? With that, she glanced back at Margaret, ready to dive headfirst into this unexpected turn of events. What would they discover together? Amidst spilled icing and laughter? The question hung in the air, promising that new challenges were just around the corner. Clara knelt beside the scattered cupcakes, her heart racing in synchronization with the chaos around her. Some vendors turned their heads, some children laughed, and the nearby marketgoers fell into a murmuration of gossip. The sight of twisted icing oozing from the toppled treats struck her with an odd mix of familiarity and urgency. "Hey, sweetheart," she called out to the boy, who was frozen in shock, his eyes wide and tearful. "It's okay. Accidents happen. Can you help me pick these up?" The boy nodded, starting to shuffle toward her, his tiny hands desperately trying to piece together what had once been whole. Clara smiled gently, fighting the urge to plunge headfirst into a panic over the mess. "You know, I used to have my own little kitchen disaster when I first started baking," Clara said, sharing her story as she began salvaging what she could. An entire batch of cookies turned into something that looked like burnt bricks. "Do you think I gave up?" He shook his head, a small glimmer of a smile breaking through his concern. "That's right. I didn't. I learned and tried again." Clara looked up to find Margaret beside her, assessing the situation with careful eyes. "What do you think? Should we give him a cupcake to take home for trying?" "That's a great idea," Margaret responded, her voice enthusiastic. "He may be the future baker in this market. And helping him now, well, it's a sweet lesson." Clara handed the boy a cupcake, pristine and untouched, saving some of the vibrant icing for decoration. She noticed other children staring, their eyes bright with envy and excitement as they gathered around. The boy's face lit up, full of pride. It was this bond that Clara had missed, the unapologetic humanity found in baked treats and messy moments. "Why don't you help us here for a bit?" Clara offered, gesturing to the remaining cupcakes. "We could use a fun little partner in crime." The boy nodded eagerly, pulling his brown hair back in a clumsy ponytail, ready to dive in. So, the three of them began to clean, laughter replacing the nervous energy that had filled the air just moments before. Clara felt her heart swell. As the scene around them began to settle, more people joined in the cleanup effort, vendors assisting, nearby mothers encouraging their children to help. Clara looked at Margaret, whose eyes sparkled with joy at this spontaneous community. "See?" Margaret said, nodding toward the scene. "Sometimes the greatest surprises come from the most chaotic moments." Clara felt something shift inside her. This was more than just baking, it was about connection. It was about rebuilding the ties that had frayed over time. Perhaps it was true. These sweet moments could be the glue for a community trying to stick together amidst life's spills and splatters. Her mind wandered back to her own life and what had kept her from moving forward. The memories lingered like shadows, fears, doubts, and all the times she held back. What would it mean to change that? Margaret, she began, ready to share the thoughts brewing in her heart. Maybe we should not just bake but create something more for this community: events, gatherings. What if we turned the market into a real hub for connection? Margaret's face lit up, and she beamed at Clara. That's brilliant. That could be the start of something big. As Clara saw the positivity radiate around them, she noticed the boy grinning. The moment began to feel more than just cupcakes in a pile. It felt like the first stitch in a quilt of community healing, but just as they set their ideas in motion, a familiar face emerged through the crowd, making her stomach twist. It was Sarah, looking frazzled and uncertain, her eyes scanning the marketplace until they locked on Clara. Clara felt a lump rise in her throat, torn by conflicting emotions. What had Sarah seen? What would she say? Would she embrace this new adventure Clara was ready to embark on, or would she turn away like she had before? The answer hung in the air, charged with tension and unanswered questions. Clara's heart raced once more, this time infused with anticipation, and she took a step forward, facing her daughter-in-law. What awaited her now could change everything. Clara's breath hitched as she stood facing Sarah, her heart a storm of hopes and fears. It had been weeks since they had spoken, the last of their conversations brimming with unspoken words and hurt feelings. Today, amidst the chaos of cupcakes, was meant to be a fresh start, not just for her, but for their shattered relationship. Sarah started, her voice breaking through the laughter and chatter around them. It was soft, almost vulnerable. Clara could see her daughter-in-law's hands trembling, clenching the edges of her cardigan as if it were a lifeline. "Hey, Sarah," Clara managed, forcing a smile, though the anxiety curled in her stomach. "What brings you here?" "I saw the crowd. I wanted to help. I felt awful about what happened." The sincerity in Sarah's gaze struck a chord within Clara. It was a look that begged for connection but carried the weight of past disappointments. Clara nodded. A part of her was ready to step forward, but the memories were still sharp, fractured conversations, misunderstandings, and an absence of warmth that lingered too long. "We're cleaning up the cupcakes. Would you like to join us?" Clara offered, keeping her tone light despite the heaviness in her chest. A flicker of surprise crossed Sarah's face. "Really? Of course," Clara exclaimed, feeling a spark of hope. "We could use all the hands we can get." Slowly, Sarah moved closer, kneeling beside them. The tension started to dissipate as they began picking up the fallen treats, the movement a welcome distraction from the silent heaviness that hung between them. "What are you doing with the market, Clara?" Sarah finally asked, glancing at the colorful confections that were still intact. "We want to turn it into a space for everyone," Clara said, her excitement bubbling over. "Events for families, baking classes, maybe even music nights. Anything to bring the community together." "It sounds amazing," Sarah said, genuine warmth returning to her voice. "You've always had that special gift for connecting people." Clara felt a blush creep across her cheeks. "I think we all have that ability inside us, we just need to find it." The boy, still happily icing a spare cupcake, chimed in. "Can I help too? I want to be part of the big party." Laughter erupted again, and Clara's heart soared as she watched Sarah give a little laugh too, seemingly more at ease. The banter flowed between them as the tension began to lift, transforming the chaotic scene into a shared moment of joy. That warmth felt contagious, reaching others nearby who began to approach, offering their help and ideas. Clara felt a stirring within her, the realization that perhaps this was how it was meant to be. Connection was possible, even when it felt distant. Just as thoughts began to swirl with possibilities for the market, Sarah glanced up with a serious look. "Clara, about everything that happened between us." Clara's heart raced again. Would they be able to take the confrontation that felt so looming? Could they strip away the layers of hurt and misunderstandings? But before Clara could respond, a commotion broke out behind them. The cacophony of an upset child caught her attention, pulling her out of their fragile moment. Clara's instinct kicked in as she turned toward the source of the sound. A little girl stood, tears streaming down her face, a toppled lemonade stand beside her, spilling yellow liquid everywhere. "Clara, let us go help her," the boy urged, hopping to his feet, eyes wide with concern for someone else's misfortune. Clara exchanged a glance with Sarah, emotions unspoken yet deep in that moment of understanding. They had been through turmoil, but maybe the real work of healing was just beginning. As they rushed toward the girl, something deep inside Clara whispered that this was the first step toward the community she envisioned, one rooted in compassion and togetherness. But an even bigger question loomed: could they navigate their own tangled feelings amidst the needs of others? The more she thought about it, the more uncertain she became. Clara hurried toward the sobbing little girl, her heart pounding in urgency to offer comfort mingling with a glimmer of hope for her own fragile relationship with Sarah. The bustling crowd that had once felt overwhelming now transformed into a community, all eager to lend a hand. "Hey, sweetie, what happened?" Clara knelt beside the girl, brushing her hair out of her tear-streaked face. The child looked up, eyes wide and watery, as she pointed at the mess of sticky lemonade pooling around her bare feet. "I didn't mean to. I just wanted some lemonade," she sniffled, a tremor in her voice. "It's okay," Clara soothed, offering a warm smile. "Accidents happen. Let us clean this up together." She grasped a nearby napkin, dabbing at the puddle and motioning for the boy to join. "Look. If we all pitch in, we can make it better." The little girl's frown slowly turned into a tentative smile, and Clara felt Sarah's presence shift, too. It was as if Sarah was awakening from her own worries just by witnessing this shared act of kindness. "Do you like lemonade?" Sarah knelt down beside them, her eyes sparkling with empathy. The girl nodded, sniffling again. "But I wanted pink lemonade, not the regular kind." "Ah, well, let us make sure to get you the best pink lemonade ever. How about we add some berries next time?" Sarah suggested, her voice warm and inviting. Clara watched as Sarah's hands gently brushed against the girl's, creating a delicate connection. "They're my favorite," the girl said, her sadness starting to fade as she quickly forgot the spilled drink. Clara's chest felt lighter as the tension eased, the humor of the situation bubbling up inside her. Then it settled. "Next time, we're all making pink lemonade together." The boy cheered, and laughter filled the air, pulling more people in. As the crowd started to help clean up, Clara felt the energy shift. Conversations sparked up around her, a collective camaraderie replacing the earlier heaviness. Laughter mingled with the scent of cupcakes, and Clara watched a few neighbors come together to cheer the little girl up with a cupcake decorating contest. "You really have a way with people," Sarah murmured, glancing at Clara. There was a new spark in her eyes, a softness that hadn't been there moments ago. Clara hesitated, unsure how to respond. "I think it's all of us working together. Just like this." But Sarah started again, a serious expression returning. "I still want to talk about everything that happened. I feel like we've gotten so far away from each other, Clara. This was wonderful, but we need to talk." Clara felt her chest tighten again. Could they really dig deep into their feelings now, in the midst of all this chaos and commotion? She wanted nothing more than to truly mend their relationship, but fear crept back in. What if they opened the floodgates only to drown in the matters of the past? "Okay, let us clean this up," Clara said, signaling toward the spill, hoping to buy time and gather her thoughts. "And then, we can." The little girl spoke up, "Can I have a cupcake while we talk?" The tension broke, and Sarah chuckled, the heaviness lifting again. "Sure, but only if you help us decorate them first." Clara felt something shift. They were all learning, evolving. Healing wasn't just an act of choosing to forgive, it was as messy as spilled lemonade, needing attention and care. While blending the sweetness of joy. As they all set to work, Clara's heart felt a swell of possibility. Yet, between laughs and sticky fingers, she couldn't shake off that nagging hesitation. Could they truly face what lay beneath with their hearts open, or would it all crumble again just like that lemonade stand? The thought lingered, heavy in Clara's mind, setting the stage for their next conversation, one that would surely shape the future of their family. As the laughter swirled around them like the frosting on the cupcakes, Clara couldn't help but feel an unexpected warmth blooming within. She watched Sarah engage with the little girl, pouring enthusiasm into decorating cupcakes, smudging buttercream on her own nose more than on the treats. It was a moment of redemption, but the weight of their unresolved issues lingered just beneath the surface, like the colors of the frosting waiting to blend together. "Okay, how about we add some sprinkles?" Sarah proposed with a smile, reaching for a jar of bright, colorful toppings. "Sprinkles make everything better." "Yeah. Sprinkles." The little girl squealed, her joy infectious. Clara felt a tug at her heartstrings as she noticed how quickly the child had found delight again. Amidst the glittering chaos, Clara turned to Sarah. "Listen, I know we need to talk. And I really want to," she said softly. "But can we do this after the cupcakes? I think we both need a little joy first." Sarah nodded, her expression softening. "You're right. This is fun." For a moment, the tension lifted. They worked side by side, fingers sticky and laughter flowing easily as they allowed themselves to enjoy the moment. But Clara's heart still raced. Every giggle from the little girl felt like a reminder of the conversations they sidestepped. As they stood together, decorating, she couldn't shake a nagging question: would this joy last? Or was it merely a distraction from the deeper conversations waiting in the wings? "I can't believe how beautiful these cupcakes are," Clara exclaimed, looking at their creations. "We've really outdone ourselves." The excitement was undeniable. "Just wait until you taste them," Sarah chimed in, her laughter the sweetest sound. But then, catching a glimpse of Clara's hesitation again, she turned serious. "What's on your mind, Clara?" Guilt twisted Clara's stomach. I'm just worried about what we have to discuss." Sarah's brow furrowed, and she stepped closer, lowering her voice. "Me too. But I think we can do this. I want to, even if it gets hard." Clara felt the stirring inside her, a blend of hope and fear. What if I can't say everything right? What if it blows up? The crowd's joyous noise faded slightly as Sarah took Clara's hand, her fingers warm and reassuring. "Then we figure it out together like we are now. Remember the lemonade stand?" Clara smiled, thinking back to the little girl and the laughter shared. "Okay, maybe we can try." The little girl nearby interrupted with wide eyes. "Are you two going to talk about secrets?" Clara chuckled and gave the girl a playful nudge. "No secrets here, just some grown-up stuff." Sarah's gaze lingered on Clara, something deeper there, a promise wrapped in those words. "Let us finish these cupcakes, and then we can talk." They wrapped up their decorating, the little girl beaming with pride at her cupcake creation. Clara felt lighter, filled with possibilities as she glanced at Sarah. But the rest still loomed. The conversation they both wanted and feared was waiting around the corner, ready to take flight once the cupcakes were served. As they moved toward the table to display their sweet treats, Clara's heart raced with anticipation. It was time for more than just laughter, it was time to speak truth. Would they emerge as a stronger family, or would their past come back to haunt them? The weight of that question loomed larger, just as big as the colorful icing on their cupcakes. Clara took a deep breath as they arranged the cupcakes, knowing that the next choice would lead them deeper into their truth. Would their hearts be ready? Clara took a moment to breathe as they set the final cupcake adorned with candy sprinkles onto the table. The vibrant colors stood in stark contrast to the knot forming in her stomach. She watched as the little girl jumped excitedly from one foot to the other, eyes gleaming with eagerness. "Can we eat them now?" she implored, glancing between Clara and Sarah. "Absolutely," Sarah replied with a grin that seemed to light up the room. Clara couldn't help but smile back, though the smile felt slightly forced. She was still bracing for the conversation that loomed large between them. As the cupcakes were served and the giggles of delight filled the air, Clara's heart ached with the juxtaposition of joy and fear. She noticed the other parents, relaxed and chatting, a soft melody of laughter surrounding them. For a moment, she wished she could stay in this blissful bubble forever, but she knew better. The little girl took a big bite of her cupcake, icing smudging her cheeks, and squealed, "Mmm. It's so good." "Just like you," Sarah responded, ruffling the girl's hair. Clara's heart warmed at the sight. While the child reveled in her treat, Clara felt Sarah's eyes on her again. There was an unspoken agreement, a silent acknowledgement that their time was drawing near. "Can we go outside?" Sarah suggested, motioning toward the backyard adorned with colorful balloons swaying gently in the breeze. "The fresh air might do us good." Clara nodded, her stomach twisting. "Sure, sounds nice." They rounded the corner of the house, stepping into the sunlight together. The warmth enveloped them, a stark contrast to the chill settling within Clara. They stood awkwardly for a moment, the laughter from inside fading as they found themselves facing each other. Sarah began, her voice tinged with uncertainty. Clara swallowed, her throat suddenly dry. "I know we need to talk about everything. But I'm scared." "Me too," Sarah admitted, her gaze searching Clara's for a moment. "But avoiding it just feels like we're stacking up more secrets, and that doesn't really help us." Clara looked away, swallowing her fears. "What if we open a door that we can't shut again? Maybe we need to open it together." The sincerity in Sarah's voice sent a shiver down Clara's spine. She felt as if she were standing on the edge of a cliff, peering down into the unknown. It could lead to beautiful freedom or a heart-wrenching plunge. Together, Clara echoed, more to reassure herself than anything. "I want you to feel safe to say whatever you need to say," Sarah continued, stepping closer, a slight tremble in her hand as she reached out. "No judgments, just honesty." The vulnerability in Sarah's eyes softened Clara's heart. Yet, the weight of unspoken truths hung heavily in the air. Would their revelations bring them closer, or would they create chasms too wide to cross? Clara took a deep breath, the words teetering on the tip of her tongue. "What I want to say, it matters. I just don't know how to start." A gust of wind rustled through the trees, adding to the tension between them. It felt like the world stopped turning, everything holding its breath, waiting with bated anticipation. "Sometimes starting is the hardest part," Sarah whispered, her eyes watching Clara intently. "But we can do this one word at a time." Clara stared into Sarah's eyes, searching for strength. Could she trust that this moment would unlock the path to healing their fractured relationship? Just as she opened her mouth to speak, a cacophony of laughter erupted from the backyard, a cheerful reminder of the little girl's joy. But Clara's heart beat slowly now, knowing the truth she was about to speak could reshape everything. "Okay, here goes," she began, her voice a mere whisper. What came next would determine everything. Would it be a joyful reunion or a heartbreaking revelation? Clara's heart raced as she prepared to plunge into the depths of their shared history. "Okay, here goes," Clara began, her voice trembling like a leaf caught in a breeze. The world felt so fast, yet time itself slowed as she searched for the words that had been tangled in her heart for far too long. Her gaze locked onto Sarah's emerald eyes, soft and searching. This was it. She felt the weight of generations behind her, a rich tapestry woven with love and hardship. "I've been scared," Clara finally admitted, the truth spilling forth like the first drops of rain after a drought. "Scared of change. Scared that I wouldn't be able to be the support you need, or the grandmother those kids deserve." A rush of emotion passed between them, silent and heavy. A soft gasp escaped Sarah's lips. "I had no idea." Clara continued, drawing strength from the warmth of the sun. "When you moved in, I thought I'd lose myself. I had this image of who I was, someone strong and independent. But then I lost my job, and it all crumbled. I felt like I was losing control. And in that fear, I pushed you away." "I felt it," Sarah admitted, her voice trembling slightly. "You didn't realize, but I was terrified too. My whole world changed when I lost my job. It felt like everything was slipping through my fingers, and I didn't know how to ask for help." Clara watched as a tear slipped down Sarah's cheek. This isn't just about us, she pressed on, her heart racing. We have two beautiful children counting on us. They need to see us fighting for each other. Exactly, Sarah said, wiping her tears. We all need to be in this together. I know I haven't been open either. I kept hoping I could fix everything, but then I felt lost. But I want to work through this. Clara stepped forward, wrapped Sarah in a gentle hug, and whispered, then let us do it together. As they stood there, hearts intertwined in shared vulnerability, Clara could almost feel the layers of distance between them begin to shed like autumn leaves. Let us promise to be real with each other, Sarah murmured, pulling back to look Clara in the eyes again. No more pretending. Let us communicate honestly, even when it's hard. Yes, no more secrets, Clara affirmed, her heart swelling. I want to find our way back to each other and rebuild our lives, as a family. Just then, an excited shout echoed from the chaos of the backyard. The little girl they had comforted earlier was squealing in delight, her face smeared with icing as she paraded around with a cupcake in her small hands. Clara and Sarah shared a glance of understanding, their hearts echoed in the girl's joy they had the chance to build something beautiful together. Shall we? Sarah asked, glancing toward the laughter drifting from the backyard. Clara nodded, a radiant smile lighting up her face. Together. As they moved back toward the gathering, Clara felt renewed. The air crackled with possibilities, a warm embrace of hope wrapping around her heart. They stood side by side, nursing their fears with the sweetness of familial love that started to blossom anew. Helping hands joined them as they brought the decorations, laughter spilling around, a sign that the community was merging as one, gathered under the warmth of renewed relationships. Cupcake decorating. The little girl called out, excitement sparking anew. Come one, come all. Clara knelt beside the little girl, her heart swelling with joy at the way the innocence of childhood represented their chance for redemption. Sarah joined her, together they guided the children in the joyous chaos of icing and sprinkles, cherishing every giggle and every spontaneous playdate moment. In those moments, Clara realized it was never just about the cupcakes, but about nurturing each other, healing wounds hidden beneath the frosting of love, and finding comfort in shared laughter. As the sun set, casting a warm glow over the bustling market, Clara felt a wave of calm wrap around her heart. This was what family felt like, not just blood, but connection, resilience, and the unyielding power of standing with each other during the storms of life. Let us make this a regular thing, Clara encouraged, her eyes shimmering with hope. Not just baking, but a true gathering place, a home for everyone. As the children cheered, Clara turned towards Sarah, who stood beside her with a radiant smile. They both took a deep breath, sharing understanding in their gaze. They had not just muddled through, they had found a way to thrive amidst uncertainty, and as they poured their hope together into every cupcake, Clara knew that this was just the beginning of their sweetest journey yet. Now, it's your turn to make a difference. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire and move you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep the love spreading. Comment below with your reactions, feelings, and how this story has impacted you. And please, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Help us build a supportive community that thrives together. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share. You need to subscribe now.